It was a quiet night in the small town. The streets were empty, and only the sound of the wind moved through the dark corners. Daniel walked alone on the road, his hands deep in his pockets. He had taken this path many times before, but tonight it felt different. The air was colder. The silence felt heavy, almost unnatural. Daniel looked up. The sky was not normal. Clouds were thin, yet there was a strange glow above them, a faint green light that shifted slowly, like waves in the ocean. He stopped walking and stared. It was not lightning. It was not the moon. It was something else. A shiver ran down his spine. He told himself it was only his imagination. Maybe the lights came from the city far away. Maybe a plane. But deep inside, he knew this was not something human. As he walked again, the streetlights began to flicker. One by one, they buzzed and blinked until the road ahead was swallowed by shadows. Daniel froze. His heartbeat grew faster. He pulled out his phone, but the screen was dead, black, without a single sign of power. Not tonight. He whispered nervously to himself. Don't play games now. Then he saw her. At first, Daniel thought it was only a shadow standing in the middle of the road. A slim figure, still, silent, and waiting. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. It was not a shadow. It was a girl. She was young, with long silver hair that glowed under the faint green light in the sky. Her skin was pale, almost shining. Her eyes, they were not human. They glowed softly, like small twin stars. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He stepped back, his legs weak. The girl tilted her head slowly, as if studying him. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then her lips moved, and in a clear, soft voice, she spoke two words. I need you. Daniel's blood ran cold. The voice was gentle, but it was filled with something he could not understand: desperation, sadness, and power. He turned around, ready to run, but his body did not move. His legs felt locked, as if the ground itself held him in place. He struggled, breathing hard, but the girl only stepped closer. Each step echoed like thunder in his ears, even though her feet touched the road softly. Who are you? Daniel finally shouted, his voice shaking. What do you want from me? The girl stopped only a few feet away. Her glowing eyes stared deep into his, and again she whispered, I need you. The green light in the sky grew brighter. It spread across the clouds, painting the night in colors no human had seen before. Daniel shielded his eyes, but the glow wrapped around him like invisible hands. He tried to scream, but his voice broke into silence. His heart pounded like a drum, each beat louder than the last. The ground shook slightly beneath his feet. Not like an earthquake, but as if the world itself was bending. The air hummed, and a strange vibration filled Daniel's body. He looked up once more. From above the clouds, a circle of white light opened, huge and endless. It was not the sky anymore. It was a doorway. Daniel's fear rose to its peak. No, this isn't real, he whispered. His voice trembled, but the light grew stronger. The girl raised her hand toward him. Her face was calm, almost sad, but her eyes glowed brighter than before. She repeated, for the last time, I need you. In that moment, a beam of pure light crashed down from the sky, swallowing the road, the trees, and Daniel himself. He felt his body lift from the ground, rising against his will. His arms stretched out, his legs kicked, but nothing could stop it. The world below grew smaller. The town lights disappeared. The earth itself seemed far away. His last memory of that night on Earth was the face of the alien girl, looking at him with eyes full of secrets. Then, the light swallowed everything. Darkness followed. Daniel's eyes opened slowly. At first, he thought he was underwater. His body floated, light as air, and his arms drifted beside him with no weight. But there was no water, he could breathe. The air around him was cold and metallic, like breathing in the inside of a machine. The room glowed faintly blue. The walls were smooth, shining, and curved like the inside of a giant shell. Strange symbols glimmered across them, moving like living light. Daniel blinked hard, trying to clear his vision, but the symbols did not vanish. They were real, glowing softly in the darkness. His heart began to pound again. He twisted his body, trying to find ground, but there was no floor. He floated in the middle of the space, his legs kicking helplessly. This can't be real, he whispered, his voice weak, almost breaking. Then he heard a sound. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something else. A soft hum like music, made of glass. The sound grew clearer, closer, until Daniel realized it was not coming from the walls. It was a voice. "You are awake." Daniel spun in the air, twisting to find the source. There she was, the girl from the road. Her silver hair drifted around her face as if moved by invisible wind. Her glowing eyes were calm, steady, and unreadable. She stood or floated only a few feet away from him. She was not bound by the strange gravity. She moved as if the space itself obeyed her. Daniel's throat felt dry. He tried to shout, but only managed a broken question. Where? Where am I? The girl's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile, but her eyes remained serious. "You are safe," she said softly. "Do not fear." Daniel laughed bitterly, shaking his head. His voice cracked. "Safe. You pulled me out of the sky. I don't even know what you are." She tilted her head, studying him the same way she had on the road. "I told you," she answered quietly. "I need you." The words sent another chill through Daniel. He gritted his teeth, floating helplessly, his fists clenched. "Why me? What do you want?" The girl drifted closer. Daniel tried to push himself away, but there was nothing to hold, nothing to fight against. He spun slowly in the air, like a leaf caught in wind. She reached out her hand, but stopped just short of touching him. "You feel it already, don't you?" she said. "The weight inside your chest. The pull in your bones. You are not here by mistake." Daniel shook his head violently. "I'm just a man. Just a normal man. You chose the wrong person." Her expression did not change. Only her eyes softened, glowing brighter, filled with something that almost looked like sadness. "There is no mistake," she whispered. "You are Daniel, and you are different." The room pulsed faintly, as if the walls reacted to her words. The symbols of light shifted, flowing faster. Weaving into shapes Daniel could almost recognize: circles, stars, fragments of Earth's sky. He turned his face away. His stomach twisted in knots. "Take me back. I don't care what you want. Just send me home." For the first time, the girl's voice sharpened. "You cannot go back." Not yet. The words hit Daniel harder than the light had. He stared at her, his breath quick and shallow. "What do you mean, not yet? What have you done to me?" Her voice softened again, but the weight in it made his skin crawl. "You were chosen. Out of many, you are the one I brought here. You will understand in time." Daniel's eyes burned with frustration. He wanted to scream, to fight, to tear open the walls of this impossible room. But before he could speak, the light in the chamber changed. The symbols on the walls broke apart and flowed into the air, spinning slowly around him. They glowed brighter, forming lines of energy that wrapped around Daniel's body like invisible ropes. His arms froze in place. His legs stiffened. He gasped. He could feel the light sinking into his skin, not burning, but pressing deep, as if writing something inside him. "Stop," he shouted. "What are you doing to me?" The girl raised her hand, and the light paused. Her voice was steady, calm, almost gentle. "I am not hurting you. The ship is learning you. It must know who you are. Daniel's chest heaved as he tried to catch his breath. Your ship, this thing is alive. Her expression gave him no comfort. Yes, it is alive. And now it knows you. The light around him dissolved, breaking into sparks that faded into the air. Daniel's body dropped suddenly, and he landed on a solid floor that had not been there before. His legs buckled, and he fell to his knees. Shaking, he pressed his hands against the cold metal surface, his heart racing. The room had changed again. The walls stretched higher, the glow dimmed, and a wide window opened in front of him. Daniel lifted his eyes. Outside the window was space. Endless, black, filled with stars brighter than he had ever seen. The earth was gone. He could not find it. His voice broke into a whisper. No, this can't be real. The girl stood beside him now, silent, her eyes reflecting the light of the stars. Finally, she spoke again, her voice soft but firm. You are far from your world now, Daniel, and you must listen. My name is Lyra. I brought you here because my people cannot survive without you. Daniel's eyes opened slowly. At first, he thought he was underwater. His body floated, light as air, and his arms drifted beside him with no weight. But there was no water. He could breathe. The air around him was cold and metallic, like breathing in the inside of a machine. The room glowed faintly blue. The walls were smooth, shining, and curved like the inside of a giant shell. Strange symbols glimmered across them, moving like living light. Daniel blinked hard, trying to clear his vision, but the symbols did not vanish. They were real, glowing softly in the darkness. His heart began to pound again. He twisted his body, trying to find ground, but there was no floor. He floated in the middle of the space, his legs kicking helplessly. This can't be real, he whispered, his voice weak, almost breaking. Then he heard a sound. Lyra turned slowly to face him. Her silver hair drifted around her like it was alive, moving in a rhythm Daniel couldn't understand. She studied him in silence, and for a moment he thought she would refuse to answer. But then she spoke softly. My people, we are dying. Our bodies are strong, our minds are sharp, but there is something missing. Something we cannot create, no matter how advanced we are. Daniel frowned. Missing? What are you talking about? Food? Medicine? Technology? Her eyes narrowed, glowing faintly brighter. Not food. Not machines. Something deeper. Something invisible. Humans have it. We do not. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Invisible. You pulled me out of my world for some nonsense about invisible things. Her voice grew sharper. Do not mock what you cannot understand. Daniel flinched. Her tone was not loud, but it cut through him like a blade. He swallowed hard and looked down at the floor. Then tell me. If you need me so badly, then stop speaking in riddles. Tell me the truth. Lyra lowered her gaze for the first time. Her face softened, but her voice trembled slightly, as though the truth itself was dangerous. We have no word for it in your language, she said. But you call it courage. Daniel blinked at her, confused. Courage. You kidnapped me for that. That's insane. Lyra's glowing eyes lifted to his. They burned with something more than light. You think it is small, but it is not. My people can create worlds, bend matter, travel across stars. But when we stand at the edge of death, we fall. We do not fight. We surrender. That is why we die. That is why we need you. Daniel's stomach turned. He wanted to argue, to laugh, to call her crazy. But a memory flashed in his mind. The night 2 years ago when he jumped into a river to save a drowning child. He could still feel the water burning his lungs, the sharp rocks cutting his arms, the fear crushing his chest. He had almost died that night, but he had acted anyway. He remembered the child's eyes. Full of terror and relief, Daniel shook his head violently, as if the memory was forced into his mind. His voice cracked. "How do you know that? How do you know what I did?" Lyra's voice was calm again, almost sad. "We have been watching you. Not only you, many of your kind. But when the moment came, you were the one who did not turn away. You ran into death, for someone you did not even know. That is why I chose you." Daniel's skin crawled. He pushed himself back, his hands slipping on the cold floor. "You've been watching me? For how long?" Lyra didn't move. "Long enough to know who you are." Anger flared in Daniel's chest. "You think you can just spy on my life, drag me out of my home, and then tell me I'm your savior? I'm not your experiment." For the first time, Lyra stepped closer, her expression breaking. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to bring you here? No, I did not choose this duty. But without you, my people will vanish. Entire cities gone. Children who will never breathe their first air. Worlds falling silent. Do you understand that?" Daniel froze. Her voice shook now, heavy with something he had not expected. Grief. She was not only desperate, she was afraid. He lowered his eyes, his anger colliding with confusion. "And if I say no? If I refuse?" Lyra's silence was louder than any answer. The glow in her eyes dimmed slightly, and for a moment she looked less like an alien and more like a young girl carrying a weight too heavy for her. "You will not refuse," she whispered finally. "Because you are human. And humans fight even when they are broken." Daniel clenched his fists. The words dug into him like hooks. He wanted to deny them, but he couldn't. She was right. He looked at her again, his voice quiet. "You still haven't told me what I'm supposed to do. What does courage even mean to your people?" Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, but this time they were wet, shimmering with something almost like tears. She whispered one final truth, and her voice echoed through the chamber like a secret carved into the stars. "You will not give us courage. You will give us yourself." The hum of the ship grew louder, as if it agreed with her words. The walls pulsed, the lights shifted, and Daniel felt the cold weight of her meaning settle deep into his chest. For the first time, he realized the truth was not about what they needed from him. It was about what they were going to take. Daniel's fists trembled against the cold metal floor. Lyra's last words echoed inside his head like thunder. "You will not give us courage. You will give us yourself." His chest tightened. He pushed himself to his feet, backing away from her glowing eyes. The chamber around him seemed to close in, the living walls pulsing with light. As if they too were listening. "No," Daniel whispered. His voice cracked, but his body moved on instinct. "No, I won't let you." He turned and ran. The room stretched endlessly. Doors and corridors blooming out of the walls as if the ship itself was creating paths. He sprinted down the first opening he saw, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The floor shifted under him, smooth like glass, then tilted, throwing him forward. He stumbled, scraped his hands on the shining surface, and pulled himself up again. Behind him, Lyra's voice carried through the halls, not loud, but everywhere at once. Calm, certain, inescapable. "Daniel, stop. You cannot run from this ship. It knows you now. Shut up." Daniel shouted, his voice breaking. He forced himself to keep running. His heart hammered in his chest. His lungs burned. He rounded a corner and saw something that made him freeze. The corridor ahead twisted into shapes that should not exist. Walls bent inward, spiraling into each other, then straightened again as if reality itself was folding and unfolding. He blinked, and the hallway looked normal. He blinked again, and it bent once more. Impossible angles tearing at his vision, Daniel pressed his palms to his temples, groaning. No, no, this isn't real. The ship answered from the walls. Threads of light bled out, thin and sharp. They stretched across the corridor, weaving into a net in front of him. Each thread hummed softly, vibrating with energy. Daniel's breath caught. He stepped back, but the wall behind him shifted too, forming another glowing net. He was trapped. Panic surged through him. He charged forward, slamming his shoulder into the net of light. Pain exploded through his body, white-hot and electric. He screamed, collapsing to the floor, his muscles spasming. The smell of ozone filled the air. Still shaking, he forced himself onto his elbows, teeth clenched. His voice was hoarse. I don't belong here. I don't belong to you. The ship seemed to respond, the lights pulsing brighter. The floor vibrating under him like a warning. Then Lyra appeared, not walking, not entering through a door. She simply stepped out of the wall itself, as if the ship had created her from light and shadow. Her silver hair floated around her face, her glowing eyes fixed on him with quiet sadness. You are hurting yourself, she said softly. Daniel spat on the floor, his chest heaving. Good. At least it's my choice. Lyra knelt beside him, but she didn't touch him. The glowing nets of light melted back into the walls, freeing the path. She tilted her head, studying him like before, but her voice trembled this time. Your fear, your anger. The ship feels it too. It tests you because it must. If you fight, it fights. If you surrender, it listens. That is its nature. Daniel's laugh was bitter, hollow. So now even your ship wants me to give up. Great Lyra's eyes dimmed, almost pained. It does not want surrender. It wants to know if you can survive. We are not torturing you, Daniel. We are searching for the truth inside you. Daniel pushed himself up to his knees, glaring at her. The truth. You already know the truth. I don't want this. I don't want you. I don't want your dying people or your living ship crawling inside my head. The chamber's hum grew louder, vibrating through his bones. The walls glowed, shifting like a heartbeat. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again, brighter than before. You say you do not want this, she said quietly. But deep inside, you are afraid of something else. Not me, not my people. You are afraid that your life on Earth means nothing, that no one would even notice if you vanished. The words struck him harder than the electric net. His chest ached, his throat tightened. He wanted to scream at her, to deny it, but the silence between them said otherwise. Lyra's voice softened further. That is why I chose you. Because you act even when no one is watching. Because you fight even when you think you are nothing. That is courage. That is what we do not have. Daniel staggered to his feet, trembling. His eyes burned, but not from anger alone. You don't know me, he muttered. You don't know what I've lost. What I've failed. Lyra's gaze didn't waver. I know enough. Enough to trust you when my people cannot trust themselves. The ship pulsed again, but this time the hum grew softer, almost like a lullaby. The walls shifted, forming a new doorway ahead wide, dark, and waiting. Lyra stepped back, gesturing toward it. If you want to run, then run. The ship will not stop you now. But beyond that door, you will see why you cannot turn away. Why you must stay. Daniel stared at the darkness of the doorway, his fists still clenched, his body trembling. Every part of him screamed to run, to find a way home. But another part deep, buried and stubborn wanted to know what waited beyond. The doorway yawned open like the mouth of some great creature, silent and waiting. Daniel stepped forward, each breath heavy, each heartbeat louder than the hum of the ship. The darkness inside the passage swallowed him whole. Lyra followed, her silver hair glowing faintly, the only light guiding him. The corridor stretched into a vast chamber, far larger than the others. Daniel froze at the sight before him. Hundreds of crystal-like pods floated in the air, arranged in spirals that stretched upward and downward into infinity. Inside each pod, a figure lay motionless tall, pale forms with glowing veins and silver hair like Lyra's. Their faces were peaceful, but their eyes remained closed, as if they were trapped in endless sleep. Daniel's stomach twisted. His voice cracked as he whispered, "What? What is this place?" Lyra's expression darkened. "This is my people, the ones who cannot wake." Daniel's breath caught. He stepped closer to a pod. The figure inside looked alive, but fragile, as though time itself had worn them thin. He pressed his hand to the cold surface, and his voice trembled. "They're dying." Lyra nodded slowly. "Not dying, fading. Their bodies remain strong, but their spirits have broken. Without courage, without will, they slip away into silence." Daniel shook his head, backing away. "And you think I can fix this? Me? I'm just a man," Lyra cut him off. "Not just a man. A flame. Do you not see it? Your people burn with something we do not. You fight wars. You explore. You risk death for discovery, for love, for strangers. That fire keeps you alive. We do not have it. We cannot make it." Her glowing eyes locked on his, sharp and unyielding. "You must give it to us." Daniel's chest tightened. He clenched his fists. "How? What do you expect me to do? Give a speech? Inspire them with stories?" Lyra's voice lowered, heavy with meaning. "No, you must join with them." The chamber seemed to grow colder. Daniel's throat went dry. "Join? What do you mean, join?" Lyra stepped closer, her voice calm but full of weight. "The ship chose you. It has already begun to write your essence, your fire, into its memory. If you accept, it will spread you through us. Your courage will flow into every mind, every heart, waking those who sleep. You will not only inspire us, you will become part of us." Daniel staggered back, his face pale. "No, no, that's insane. You're saying I won't be me anymore? You're saying I'll die." Lyra's expression broke for the first time. Her glowing eyes shimmered, wet with tears that caught the faint light. She whispered, "Yes. To save us, you must become us." Silence fell heavy in the chamber. The sleeping forms in the pods floated quietly, like a graveyard of glass. Daniel's hands trembled as he tried to steady his breath. His voice cracked with fury. "So that's it? That's your big mission? Kidnap me, use me, and erase me. You said you needed me, but you meant you needed my life." Lyra's tears glowed brighter as they rolled down her pale skin. Her voice trembled. "It was not meant to be you. I begged them to choose another, but the ship chose you. And I obeyed." Daniel's chest ached. His anger mixed with confusion. "Why? Why obey if you didn't want this?" Lyra's glowing eyes burned into his. "Because I was born for this duty. Because I am the last of my line. And because I envied you." Daniel froze. The word cut deeper than he expected. "Envied me?" Lyra nodded slowly, her voice breaking. "All my life, I watched your world. I saw your struggles, your failures, your endless fight to live, even when there was no reason. You call it suffering. I call it strength. My people never understood it, but I did. And when the ship chose you, I understood why. You are everything we are not. Daniel's throat tightened. For the first time, he saw her not just as an alien, but as someone trapped between two worlds, her dying people, and the fire she could never have. He whispered, almost to himself, "And if I refuse?" Lyra's voice fell into silence. She looked away, her shoulders trembling. When she finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. "Then my people fade. My world dies, and I will have failed them." The chamber pulsed with light, the pods glowing faintly, as if stirred by her words. The sleeping figures seemed to breathe slower, their silence heavier. Daniel's eyes burned as he looked around at the endless rows of lives hanging by a thread. His heart pounded, torn between rage, fear, and pity. Finally, Lyra looked at him again. Her voice raw, stripped of all the calm she had shown before. "Daniel, I will not lie to you. If you give yourself, you will not return to Earth. You will never see your world again. But if you do this, you will save mine." Her words lingered in the vast chamber, heavy as the stars outside. Daniel's breath shook. He wanted to scream, to run, to demand a way out. But instead, he stood frozen, caught between the weight of her truth and the silence of the dying. For the first time, the mission was clear. But the price was everything. Daniel stood in the center of the chamber, his eyes darting between Lyra and the countless crystal pods around him. Each pod was a coffin of light, holding lives that were fading, waiting, depending on him. His throat burned with every breath. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "All of this, for me? You're asking me to give everything, to lose myself, just to save strangers?" Lyra's glowing eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "Not strangers. A people, a world, an entire future." Daniel clenched his fists. "A future that isn't mine." Before Lyra could answer, the ship pulsed around them. The walls brightened, the floor vibrated, and Daniel felt a pressure building inside his head. His vision blurred, and suddenly he wasn't in the chamber anymore. He was back on Earth. The smell of rain filled his nose. He stood on a cracked sidewalk, the glow of street lamps reflecting in puddles. He knew this street. He had walked it 1,000 times. But something was wrong. The world around him shimmered, bending at the edges like glass under heat. The people walking past him had no faces, only blank masks of shadow. Their footsteps echoed like empty drums. Daniel staggered back. "This isn't real," a voice answered. Not Lyra's, but the ship itself, deep, layered, vibrating through the false world. "Show us who you are." Daniel's chest tightened. He turned and saw a child standing at the edge of the sidewalk, near the rushing river. The same child from years ago. The same night when Daniel had jumped in, nearly drowning, to pull him out. The memory replayed, but twisted. This time, Daniel didn't move. He just stood there, watching the child slip into the water, vanish beneath the waves. The shadows of the faceless crowd didn't react. They just walked past, silent, uncaring. Daniel dropped to his knees, clutching his head. "Stop it. That's not how it happened." The ship's voice rumbled again. "Then show us. Show us why you matter." The water rose higher, swallowing the street, pulling at his legs. Daniel gasped, forcing himself to move, but the current was stronger than before. His chest burned, his arms thrashed yet still. He dove, his instincts screaming to act, to save, even in a false memory, and in that moment, the vision shattered. Daniel fell hard onto the chamber floor, gasping for air. Sweat rolled down his face. His muscles ached as if he had truly fought the river again. Lyra knelt beside him, her hands trembling. "The ship tested you. It wanted to see if your courage was real, or only a story. Now it knows." Daniel shoved her hand away, anger in his eyes. "You had no right." You let it crawl inside my head, tear apart my life. Lyra's voice broke. I tried to stop it. But the ship is older than me, older than my people. It decides who is worthy. Daniel staggered to his feet, chest heaving. And if I say no? If I refuse your mission, what then? Do you kill me? Do you keep me locked here until I break? For a moment, Lyra's face twisted with pain. Her voice dropped to a whisper. If you refuse, the ship will find another. It will tear apart your world until it does. It will not stop. The words cut deeper than any threat. Daniel froze, his anger shifting into dread. You mean? It'll take someone else. Another human. Lyra nodded slowly, tears glowing in her eyes. Yes, and maybe they will not be like you. Maybe they will fail. And then both our worlds will die. Silence crushed the chamber. Daniel pressed his palms against his face, shaking. He wanted to scream, to curse her, to curse the ship. But instead, he sank to his knees. The weight of the choice pulling him down like chains. His voice broke as he whispered, "You're asking me to give up my life, to give up everything I am. And all I get in return is nothing." Lyra knelt across from him, her glowing eyes burning with sorrow. Not nothing. You will live forever not as one, but as many. You will wake my people. Every breath they take, every battle they face, every life they save. It will carry a piece of you. Daniel's hands dropped from his face. He stared at her, hollow and broken. That's not life. That's a grave. Her lips trembled. Maybe. But it is also hope. The chamber pulsed again, the pods glowing faintly, as if waiting for his answer. The hum of the ship grew louder, vibrating in his bones. Daniel closed his eyes, his heart pounding. Images of Earth flashed in his mind: the river, the child he saved, the lonely nights, the empty streets. No family waiting for him. No one who would notice if he never came back. Then he saw Lyra, her eyes full of pain and faith. A girl carrying the weight of an entire dying race. His chest rose and fell with one final, shuddering breath. The chamber pulsed with dim light, the hum of the ship vibrating in Daniel's bones. The crystal pods glimmered faintly, each one holding a life hanging by a thread. The silence pressed down on him like the weight of a collapsing star. Lyra stood before him, her silver hair drifting, her glowing eyes wet with tears that refused to fall. She waited not as a commander, not as an alien, but as someone desperate, someone clinging to hope. Daniel's fists trembled at his sides. His voice was hoarse. If I do this, there's no coming back. I stop being me. Lyra's lips parted, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, but in losing yourself, you save us all. The words carved into him like knives. His mind screamed to run, to fight, to resist. But another voice, deep inside, whispered, "And if you run, they die." His knees buckled. He sank slowly to the floor, staring at his reflection in the smooth crystal beneath him. A tired man, alone, forgotten. Perhaps this was all he was meant for, to vanish so others could live. Daniel exhaled a long, shaking breath. Fine. Do it. Take me. Lyra's tears finally broke, shining as they slipped down her pale skin. She reached out her trembling hand. You are braver than I ever imagined. The ship responded instantly. The chamber roared with light, symbols of energy pouring from the walls and wrapping around Daniel. He gasped as the glow pierced his skin, racing through his veins like fire. His body convulsed, lifted into the air, suspended in the center of the room. The pods stirred. Their glow brightened, pulsing in rhythm with his racing heartbeat. Daniel screamed, his voice cracking as if the ship was tearing him apart from the inside. Memories flashed through his mind, his childhood, his mistakes, his quiet nights on empty streets, the child he saved in the river. Each memory broke into fragments of light. Carried away into the ship's core, Lyra watched. Her hands pressed against her chest, her glowing eyes wide with sorrow and awe. "It has begun," she whispered. But then something happened the ship did not expect. Daniel's body shuddered violently. The light inside him grew unstable, wild. Instead of fading into the ship's flow, it pushed back. The chamber trembled. The pods shook. The hum of the ship rose into a scream. Lyra staggered, her eyes widening in fear. No, this is not possible. The ship cannot contain him. Daniel's voice erupted, loud and raw, echoing through the chamber. "I am not your sacrifice." The light around him flared, blinding. Instead of dissolving into the alien network, it burned brighter, spreading outward, forcing the walls to shudder and crack with energy. The ship's deep voice roared through the chamber, furious and confused. "Human, you defy the merging." Daniel's eyes snapped open. They glowed not with alien light, but with something fiercer, pure human fire. His voice thundered. "You wanted my courage. Here it is. I fight even when I have nothing left. You will not erase me. You will change because of me." The chamber exploded with light. The pods burst alive, one by one, glowing brighter as the sleeping figures gasped, their eyes snapping open. The hum of the ship shifted from a scream to something new, like a heartbeat learning to beat for the first time. Lyra stumbled forward, her hands shaking. She looked up at Daniel, suspended in the air, his body burning with fire and light. Tears streamed down her face. You're waking them without losing yourself." Daniel roared, forcing the last of his strength outward. "I am not giving myself to you. I am giving myself for you. That's the difference." The ship convulsed, the walls cracking with radiant energy. For a moment, it felt as if the entire vessel would tear itself apart. Then silence. Daniel collapsed to the floor, smoke rising from his skin, his breath shallow. His body shook with exhaustion, but he was alive. Lyra fell to her knees beside him, her glowing eyes wide with awe. Around them, the pods pulsed with new light. One by one, her people stirred, awakening from endless sleep. Daniel coughed, his voice broken but firm. "You wanted my courage. Now you have it, but I'm still me. And if you want more, you'll have to accept me as I am." Lyra stared at him, trembling. For the first time, a smile touched her lips, weak but real. "Then maybe you've given us more than courage. Maybe you've given us freedom." But the ship's deep voice echoed again, low and uncertain. "Human fire is unstable. If it spreads, it will burn more than it saves." The lights flickered. The chamber shook once more. Daniel forced himself to his feet, his fists clenched. His eyes glowed faintly, still burning with the remnants of his defiance. He faced the darkness above, his voice steady. "Then let's find out." The screen of stars outside the chamber widened, the ship opening its gaze to the galaxy beyond. The pods glowed brighter, her people waking into a world forever changed. And Daniel, standing at the center, realized this was not the end. It was only the beginning.